All right, we're going live here. All right, peace words. Come on, Freeman, Angry Black Man in Therapy, representing We Act Radio. And we are coming to you with a special broadcast for a special event, the Orisa Feast Community Day that is happening July 30th from 3 to 7 p.m. It's the Ilé Ìmọ-LAY hosts its annual Orisa Feast Community Day honoring elders, ancestors, and forces of light in the universe. The Orisa Feast is one of the EE-MOH-LAY's cultural events that allows the community to learn, share, and partake in traditions of our elders and their ancestors. And that might be a little too lofty for some people, but the fact of the matter is that even our former Vice President Al Gore said that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So let's talk about this spiritual event for the human experience. And joining us here today is my brother Agun Asito. Brother, we're working on the slave tongue, so please welcome to We Act Radio and enlighten myself and our audience.
My brother Freeman, first of all, let me say that it is, really my honor and my pleasure to be on air with you here on We Act. It's been a long time since I've been on We Act, so I'm really glad to be back. Really want to say that Ilé Ìmọ-LAY, which is the spiritual house that I'm connected to, is really excited to be putting on our 17th. This is the 17th year that we've actually done the Orisa Feast here in Washington, D.C. Right. And yeah, and basically it's an opportunity for the community to come and get some healing, because one of the things that in our community that we have so much trauma, that the healing that we provide at the community, we hope helps people get through to the next year.
We are so many progressive things are under attack. Just here yesterday, the Congress, including most of this Congressional Black Caucus, I should add, has submitted a resolution denying that Israel is a racist state or apartheid state, just like they did with the South African apartheid state. Shortly, I might add, fully before it failed. So we have people attacking "stay woke" as a pejorative. Books have been banned, and most of those books are by Black authors that we all know and love. So these real issues that are being attacked upon us in our human experience, how can we conjure up the spirits and this event be something that provides either solace or challenges the forces that be, because we seem to be dealing battle with spiritual forces in high places or principalities in high places?
Well, I think that one of our greatest weapons as people of African descent is our spirituality. It's carried us through and helped us to survive up until this particular point in our existence, right? That we actually relied on it in our first successful campaign against oppression in the island, wonderful nation of Haiti. And that spirituality was all up and in that revolution, brother.
Absolutely, so, absolutely. I want to add real quick. Sorry to interrupt, but we actually on the radical side of Martin King Avenue in Anacostia, the heart and soul of Washington D.C., according to our own mayor, we fly the Haitian flag on top of our building to celebrate that resistance and the spirit of that resistance of the first Black Republic. So please continue. I just want to acknowledge to the world that we are full support physically and hopefully to be able to celebrate some liberation in Haiti. Please correct us. I colonized slave tongues here.
Absolutely, brother. No issue. But I just wanted to say that there's a if you look it up, there's a brother named Boukman who was very instrumental in that Haitian revolution, and and his spiritual guidance was one of the things that won the day. But anyway, your question was more directed to, what do we do now, right? So the first thing we have to do is we have to make sure that we're girded physically and spiritually, right? Because we're under constant attack, as you were just saying, and when you pointed out with some of your examples. So making sure that we are spiritually fit, right, means that we need to get our spiritual checkups the same way that we get our physical checkups. That means that we need to know what is going on. I'm not going to say in our future, but which direction should we be moving? You know, what is it that our Ori, our destiny, what is it? How does that align with our liberation? You know, those are the kind of things that you as an individual can do to find out exactly where we fit into this thing.
I love the concept of a spiritual checkup, because I made that same analogy with mental health. You know, like if you suffer an injury, people allow you time to heal, but when you have a mental injury, people just tell you to get over it. You know, like, no, you need time to heal from that as well. And so you taking a step further to say a spiritual checkup. So maybe that's like when people give you that call, you know, from a friend or a loved one that says, "Hey man, I'm just checking in on you." You know, is that something that we can expect from the Orisa Feast Community Day that's happening July the 30th from 3 to 7 p.m. And please give us the location, how people can participate.
Right, absolutely. Well, first of all, let me say this part. And this is Baba Ogunsotito of Ilé Ìmọ speaking, right? This is words of my own. So when I'm talking about like a spiritual checkup, what I'm saying is you need to put yourself in the right space, because like you said, with the whole mental piece, that's all a part of it, right? If you've had mental trauma, then you've got to do something to purge yourself of that mental trauma and put the mechanisms in place so that you can deal with that mental trauma. Well, we know that we've been abused spiritually, so we have to do put those same kind of structures in place in order for us to be able to be successful. The other thing I was going to say is that, you know, our community day for Ilé Ìmọ-LAY is on the 30th, but we are working now. We are working now to make everything in order for this feast. There's a lot of behind the scenes work to make the energy correct. So when the community comes in, you're walking into a very highly charged spiritual space where you can cleanse yourself of some of those things that happened from last year to this year. You know, some of the lifetime or not neighborhood, but the lifetime traumas that you may be, you know, experiencing. You know, I mean, you should come and expect miracles. I mean, that's just how I say it.
Wow, I mean, that's a hell of a statement. Come in expecting miracles. So hey, y'all promising miracles, then it sounds like
I'm not promising miracles. I said come expecting miracles.
That sounds like Reverend Ike right there. It's like, you know, I'm selling miracles. But you know, Reverend Ike was on point a lot of times. When I go back and listen and catch out some of the stuff that he was running down, he had talked about the power of vision and actualization. You know, you got to have the vision. I'm like, that sound authentic. He wasn't talking like no what's the boy name? Osteen. He didn't sound like George Osteen. He sounded authentic. I'm like, so shout out to Reverend Ike, man. But
yeah, absolutely.
But Lord knows, we need some miracles. And so but we also know that miracles can happen.
Absolutely.
Miracles can happen. And I'm not talking about miracles like you hit the lottery. You know, there was a documentary, I think it was on the HBO platform, and it was tracking so many of these lotto winners and how their lives turned out. And it was miserable. You know what I'm saying? Right. It was miserable. Because I always say to the point of money that poor people have the luxury of believing that if only they have money, things will be better and it will solve all their problems.
Right.
That's a comfort that rich, wealthy people do not have. And so when they have money and they still got issues and problems, they commit suicide. They over-medicate. And so I wanted to point that out. So when you say miracles, what is something that you're referring to that would be a miracle that could be within attainment?
So the thing about it for me is that, once again, we as a people are very, very spiritual. We know we're the most spiritual people on the planet, bar none. I mean, you know, that's just my personal observations, right? As you said, Reverend Ike.
When I was a kid, they pouring the liquor out. I didn't know there was a spirit.
We all did it. We all did it.
It's
libation, brother. It's libation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going to the ancestors, right? So that's exactly what I'm referring to is like those aha moments, right? When those switches are turned in your brain. We hear about Harriet Tubman, and she used to pass out from her visions.
Wow.
And those visions that she had is what helped her to make those safe passages, back and forth, 19 times back and forth through the treacherous South,
That we know of.
That we know of, right? Well, there's document. And then we have, Nat Turner, who escaped on his own, but because he got a vision, came back and said, no, I got this work to do for my people. There's Sojourner Truth. She had a spiritual experience that changed her life around, that moved her in the position that she was in. These are people who saw a need, right? A miracle happened inside of them, and they were able to make miracles happen in other people's lives. So, I'm saying that those kind of miracles can happen along with other kinds of miracles as well. But I'm saying, don't look for a miracle outside yourself. Look for the miracle inside you.
Look for the miracle inside you. Okay, so he's dropping hip hop quotables right here, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, friends and enemies.
I got a little history with hip hop, but we're not going to go into that right now.
Hey, shout out to the 50th anniversary of hip hop. But you had the first quote is the spiritual check-in, spiritual checkup rather.
Yep.
And then of course looking for the miracle within. And I'm feeling you. I'm feeling you off that. I mean, I had to take some mushrooms and go on a back and hike through Rock Creek Park for me to have the one of those miracles from within, because I got in the aha moment that I just had attained this unshakable belief in myself, an unshakable confidence that I'm walking around with. Because sometimes we're bombarded with all the negativity, and can I do this, and da-da-da, and the whole world's designed to make you feel less than and incapable and smaller. And that is what we must first overcome. So that was one of those miracles within myself that I felt, but maybe I do need, it's time for a spiritual check-in. But this is also a feast. So what's on the table for this feast? Well, I mean, when people, so we start talking all this high and mighty and the positivity, right. Folks gonna be like, oh, well, they're gonna have some some tofu chitlins, or they're gonna have some seitan.
Well, I ain't had the tofu chitlins yet. I don't know about those.
What are they doing on this feast end? What's being consumed here?
Okay, so it's metaphorical because it's a spiritual feast. Although there will be food that's there and available, and we always make sure that we have food that is good for the soul and good for the body, right?
Yeah, because soul food killed Big Mama, all right?
Absolutely.
And that's why we have a proliferation of dialysis centers in our communities and liquor stores as well. And then on those liquor stores, as Malcolm X says, that's a government seal, and it says something spirits. Distilled spirits right. On those bottles after we finish pouring those libations out. But you saying there's more than food that's on the menu? Absolutely.
It's interesting that you said that you took the mushrooms and you was able to have that experience. I think a lot of times, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we are inducing those same kinds of results. We have the techniques in our culture to do that without the outside stimulus, and we do a lot of self-medication, right? And
for the pain,
right, because we're dealing with a lot of trauma, and when we medicate, a lot of times it takes us to another space, right? So when you are really getting into your spirituality, no matter what kind of spirituality you're into, when you're into it at a certain level, I'm talking spirituality, not religiosity, right? When you get into that part, then you can attain those kinds of visions. We have a whole process for that. Just like you hear the Native Americans have the vision quest when they do the sweat lodges, which I have done. I've done sweat lodges. We have those kinds of things in our particular culture as well.
Yeah, I'm sitting here trying to look up the lyrics to and speaking of Hip Hop 50, Killer Mike new album. It is a celebration of spirituality, and he did a fantastic job. He just had a performance here at the Lincoln Theater. He has the whole little choir that comes out, and he's an ode to his mother and his grandmother. He talks about their spirits within him, and then he's talking to them, and we have on stage. You know? So I thought it was very powerful. But he had
Killer Mike always got that energy though, man. You know, I mean, he's always had that energy. I'm a teacher by profession, and I use a lot of what Killer Mike says and does to provoke those conversations in the youth, man, because you know they can relate.
Well, I don't pull it up because Dave Chappelle is on Run. The song is on Run. Dave Chappelle opens up the song, and Dave Chappelle makes the correlation that being Black in America is like storming the beach in Normandy. You know, and he said that is the type of thing that we up against. The people are falling to our left and falling to our right, but we got to keep moving. And you talking about, you know, trauma. If that's our experience, then that we don't have time for post-traumatic syndrome, because we have the trauma happening to us in real time.
Right.
So how are we going to expect a miracle from within, dealing with the trauma in real time in this feast and on that menu?
Man, look, man, it goes back to the basic principles that we all know from basic medicine, right? First thing you have to do is you have to admit you have a problem. You got to admit that you're sick, right? And
we sick.
yeah, we sick. Nah, I'm talking about, you know, as you were saying before, we have liquor stores on every corner, right?
A proliferation
of them. And
liquor stores.
And we wonder why we have rampant alcoholism in our communities, right? So recognizing that is the first step. If you can see that, I remember I'm reminded of Furious Styles and what was that movie, the Boys in the Hood?
First time I heard the word gentrification
right.
was in Boys in the Hood. Rest in peace to John Singleton.
Right, and those are some of the same concepts that he's talking about. You know, what was that, 20 years ago, 30 years ago now? John Singleton.
90, so it's 30, that's like damn 30 years ago. Wow, you know, we 30 years in, man.
Yeah, bruh. Yeah, but I'm just saying, you know, that's the kind of thing that I think about. He was talking about how our communities have been changed, and it's been purposeful. It's not, you know, it's not like we did it to ourselves. It's purposeful.
It's purposeful. It's systematic.
Right.
So, oh my goodness, are you guys involved in the subversive activities trying to undermine the systemic racism found in the Americas?
Absolutely.
That's right. That's We Act Radio, baby. We're here to provide the platform to carry that message. Again, reintroduce yourself, because we're talking about this fantastic spiritual check-in. This festival is open to all those of like mind and body. And let them know again when and where and how they can participate.
All right. Once again, my name is Baba Ogun Sutito. I am one of the junior priests at Ilé Ìmọ-LAY, which is under the direction and leadership of Bokor EE-MOH-LAY, under Baba Obasanjo and under Mother Adjua. And, you know, I sit back as a junior priest and do some of this work to try to heal the community, bro.
And when it's happening, where is it happening?
So the Orisa Feast is July 30th from 3 to 7 p.m. That's our latest offering to the community. There'll be other things happening on other days, but the community is invited at that particular time on the 30th from 3 to 7.
And what's the location?
The location is in Temple Hills, Maryland. And the location, well, I'll tell you what, the best way to get the location, because you have to register, is you have to go to the website. Yeah.
There's a screening process here, ladies.
Believe it, brother.
Because we said, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, friends and enemies. So there's a screening process because we don't want to be Zoom bombed in real time to exacerbate traumatic trauma in real time as well. So so give that website out again. It's also featured on this broadcast in the content description for people to register to participate to get more information.
Yeah, we're all over social media. Ilé-Ìmọ-LAY.com. That's ILEIMOLE.com. That's our website. You can catch us on Facebook as Ilé Ìmọ-LAY. And the email, if you want to ask a specific question, info@Ilé-Ìmọ-LAY, info@Ilé-Ìmọ-LAY.com.
And this is we're of course based here in Washington D.C. and the DMV, that's D.C., Maryland, Virginia. So Temple Hills is a suburb of Washington D.C. So they're going to be the hills of the temple. The hills of the temple is where this will be taking place, and this will be a spiritual check-in will be taking place. We don't know what else is on the menu. But we're pretty sure
miracles is on the menu, brother. We told you that.
Miracles on the menu. Okay.
Miracles on the menu.
That's the main course would be miracles. We don't know what the appetizers are. That's what I think to say. So, but we do know there won't be any vegan chitlin on the appetizers. Okay.
I don't handle the menu, brother. I don't know if there's vegan chitlins on the menu.
If I knew you was coming, I would bake the cakes. I got the best rum cake recipe on the East Coast, by the way. But
we're gonna talk about that.
What is the result that or one of the goals of your organization in doing this type of work?
Well, as I said earlier, we are, as an organization, interested in the healing of the community, right? So just to give you a little bit of background about the organization, we were established in 2020, 501c3 status, so you're welcome to donate. The vision is to be a space for African spiritual, religious, and cultural-based practices for upliftment, enhancement, and elevation of humanity and nature. So that's a lofty kind of thing that we're reaching for, right?
I would think nothing less or expect nothing less from miracle workers.
Well, look, we have a virtual presence and we have several virtual programs. We reach the West and East Africa. We're in Germany, the Caribbean, Tanzania, Trinidad, all over the world. People tune into our first Sunday services because we do have a regular service that we provide for the community virtually. And that is on the first Sunday of every month. So I think the next one is August 1st. Or the first Sunday in August. So just, you know, there's a lot of things that we do for the community. We have a water ritual that's in person where people can come and do their prayers by the water. You got to go by the water to get that healing. So just giving an example.
I had to do one of those myself with the sisters from Adasi.
Yeah. When they do their ancestor reverence. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm doing, of course, the river walk. One of them.
Right over there by WEAC Radio.
That's right. They come by and bless WEAC Radio. And so far we have been blessed. Buildings paid for, we encourage the gentrification and displacement, and we're still moving 12 years in. So I think some of these miracles do happen. People need to register to attend the Orisa Feast Community Day. It's happening again July 30th from 3 to 7 p.m. Their website again is Ilé-Ìmọ-LAY. Let's spell ILEIMOLE.com. For the screening process. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and enemies. This is WEAC Radio. We do shout outs. So anyone that you think is key figures that needs to be acknowledged, we need to do that now before we get out of here.
Well, once again, I just want to thank my spiritual mother, Bokoye Mary, for allowing me to have this opportunity to be on your program, my brother. Hopefully I've represented well. It's been an absolute pleasure to be on with you, man. Hopefully it's not the last time.
In the spirits of our ancestors, our rebelliously beautiful ancestors, I say Ashe.
Ashe.
We'll make it so. But I want to say in closing, because we represent the radical side of Martin King Avenue, that this reminds me of one of his speeches, and he talks about the speech in which the title is Midnight. and he prayed over a cup of water, but a cup of coffee. Now, I'm a little skeptical on whether or not Martin Luther King, after receiving a death threat in the middle of the night that shook him to his core, prayed over a cup of coffee in the middle of the night in his kitchen. I think something was in the coffee, but that's neither here nor there. But he says that religion had to become real to him, and that he had to pray on something that was going to make a way out of no way. And he said he prayed out loud, and I think that was really a spiritual experience for him, because as I said before, I had to find an unshakable faith in myself and what I'm doing and what I'm up against. And I think he was looking for the same. I think he was looking for a spiritual checkup. And I think that all those in the sound of my voices who of sound mind and body, who was looking for a miracle from within, needs that spiritual checkup, and hopefully will join us on July 30th. And I want to thank you and everyone that works with you for providing that platform for people to do this work. And I'm honored to provide this platform to amplify that work. Thank you for joining us.
Two sides of the same coin, brother.
I'm sorry. This is Come On Freeman, Angry Black Man in Therapy, representing We Act Radio. Do something. Do something for your health and for your mental health, and also for your spiritual health. Ashe.
Ashe.